Welcome.
Thank you, Solveig. My name is Tone. I'm Solveig's colleague. I work at the Norwegian Folk Arts and Craft Association, or Nordic Husflidslag. I'm going to give you a little introduction to Nordic Craft Week, which is why we're gathered here today, and tell you a little bit about our organization and our work with the Red List. There's a very long and strong tradition to collaborate across the Nordic countries. This happens in many areas, and since 1927, craft organizations have been organized in a network called Nordic Folk Art and Craft Organization, or Nordens Husflidsforbund, as many of you might know it by. We see this collaborative network as a very great tradition and strength in our work. In 2018, the network took the initiative to start Nordic Craft Week. Nordic Craft Week is an annual campaign on Facebook which celebrates Nordic handicrafts. For 1 week each autumn, we come together to showcase both the unique local variations in our countries, but also our shared cultural heritage in the countries of Iceland, Faroe Islands, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, and Estonia. So this year, the theme is traditional knitted sweaters, and each country has chosen one sweater to showcase in our common Facebook page. And this year we've chosen, Norway has chosen Bynestrøya, which is the one you see on the screen. If you follow us on Facebook, you can see this sweater and all the other sweaters as well, and download the free sweater patterns. Our greatest task, Norwegian Folk Art and Craft Association, is to keep handicrafts alive as a culture and an industry in Norway. We do this by safeguarding, conveying, and renewing handicraft traditions. Our members are divided into 3 groups. It's our local craft groups, our handicraft shops, Husfliden, and professional handicrafters. We are Norway's largest provider of handicraft courses, and teaching craft skills is a great part of our work. Local member groups across the country offer a wide variety of courses, from wood and metal work to textiles and, of course, knitting. The classes are available for all skill levels and ages, and we think that you're never too young or never too old to learn something new. So if you're interested in handicrafts, if you want to learn more about handicrafts or just want to support our work, we always welcome new members. In 2014, we became the 3rd UNESCO accredited non-governmental organization, or NGO, in Norway within intangible cultural heritage. We're very proud to be acknowledged as an expert organization in our field and to have an advisory role towards UNESCO's work with the convention, where we also participate in the international network ICH NGO Forum. So traditionally, crafts have been passed down from generation to generation, but today many craft skills are in danger of being lost due to fewer practitioners and handicrafters. Our Red List initiative is a nationwide voluntary effort to document and register as many craft skills and techniques as possible. Through the absolute superb work of our volunteer-driven local member groups, hundreds of craft skills have already been documented and many more are in the works. Tonight, we're going to learn more about the work of one of our local craft groups, which is Byneset Husflidslag. They're a local craft group in Trondheim. They've worked the past 6, 7, 8 months documenting and reconstructing a 160-year-old knitted sweater. So you have something to look forward to. So sharpen your knitting needles and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tone. And I'm very happy to introduce Byneset, local craft group. And the story is like this, that Guri Aune, which we see in the screen now, and her colleague in the group, Greta Bjørnbeth, started the work of the construction of this sweater in January this year, January 2022. And also with some advice from our colleague Camilla Århaug, which is craft advisor in that area. They started to look into this old sweater, and after being examining it for a while, they also found out that there was a lack of a suitable yarn. So that's the second part of this lecture. Then we pass the word over to the spinning mill, so we really get the whole story tonight. But now, Guri Aune, please, the microphone is yours.
Thank you. I can't find the starting.
Vi kan se skjermen din, Guri.
Ja, men jeg klarer ikke å finne start. Kanskje den
Den viser helt fint nå.
Kanskje den er aktivert.
Mm.
Så, ja, den var det. Yes, hello. My name is Guri Aune from Byneset, local craft organization. I want to tell that this is the story of an old sweater from Byneset, knitted about 1860, from which we made an authentic pattern. And first of all, I will tell you a little about the woman who first created this pattern. In a cottage on the outskirts of Byneset lived Siri-Berit with her two daughters, Marit and Guru. Marit was born about 1800. They were very poor, and much of the time was used to find food, the girls often having to beg in the neighborhood. They seldom went to school, but the mother passed on the knowledge she had, especially how to card and spin wool properly. Around 1830, Marit got a job as a helping hand on the farm on the far side of the country. There she got pregnant, which for an unmarried woman at that time was a terrible disgrace, or even a sin. She gave birth to a baby, but she didn't let it live. A few weeks later, she was arrested and sent to Trondheim prison with a life sentence. The prisoners were expected to work at different handcrafts for many hours every day. It was a very hard life. Thankfully, after serving 12 years, Marit was pardoned by the Queen. She returned home to Byneset, where she began knitting sweaters to sell. She made her own pattern, perhaps using inspiration from other sweaters she had seen while in prison. Back in 1985 in Byneset, many elderly people still remembered Marit's sweaters. In Byneset, these sweaters were as well known as the Selbu mittens are today. Nowadays, Marit is most called Halt-Marit. Maybe she limped. Halt is the word for to limp in Norwegian. The old sweater. Today, there is just one sweater left, knitted in Halt-Marit's pattern that we know of. This sweater was knitted about 1860 for Lars Gudmundsson Rye, born 1836, dead 1920. Unfortunately, We cannot be sure if it was knitted by Halt-Marit or by Lars's fiancée, who also was named Marit. The sweater is knitted in homespun yarn in a pattern of alternate white and blue stripes with small stars. Across the top of the body, as well as the sleeves cuff, there are borders of red, blue, and white. There was no written pattern of the sweater. In the 1860s, they knitted pattern by heart. But in 1984, a simplified version of Halt-Marit's sweater was adapted to a written pattern made to suit the fashion of that time. This was done by Byneset Husflidslag in conjunction with Rauma Ullvarefabrik, who made the yarn. Then in 2022, the Norwegian Folk and Crafts Association asked Byneset Husflidslag to make a new and more exact pattern of the old sweater and to replicate the yarn. This was a great challenge. Today's owner of the sweater, Gudmund Klevset, was told about this new project, which he applauded and thought it was a splendid idea. The sweater means a lot to him and is of course priceless, but he still allowed us to borrow it for as long as we needed in order to make a copy. We would like to study how the sweater was knitted, then note how the yarn was made and try to identify the colors used. Finally, we wanted to knit a replica, and last but least, we hope to make the life and fate of Halt-Marit more widely known. We have counted every stitch, marked all increases and decreases with safety pins, studied the yarn and the colors, drawn the patterns, found the method used for casting on. We learned to knit from left to right on the front side, as well as knitting two pieces together, making a knitting row at the front. Then we found which methods were used for increasing and decreasing, and finally measuring the tension, length, and width of the entire garment. Then the yarn, luckily for us, we have Selbu Spinneri, a local fountain of yarn knowledge. Armed with the old sweater, we went to visit this spinnery and to our delight found them as excited as ourselves about this old sweater. They said this old yarn was made of 3 tightly twined threads and is no longer produced as people today want a softer and fluffier yarn. They were also surprised to learn that the colors, the red and dark blue, were synthetic dyed and did not come from plants as we thought in the beginning. We were pleased to hear that they would try to make a new yarn for this sweater project. The pattern borders used in the sweater are most likely signs for defense and protection as used in different ways in the elderly times, marked as in houses and tools, clothes, and so on. We can see the tree of life, which makes wishes for a good life come true. And we know the rhomb was thought to have the power to protect from a bad life. A filled rhomb gave even a better defense. The sloping lines on the shoulders can be signs for defense or to represent water. The zigzag pattern on the cuffs kept evils from invading, and the rose pattern above the cuff helps love come through. All these signs were especially important to farmers and fishermen. Pattern border 1 is the main pattern with stripes including small stars. All rows with stars begin in the same way as the pattern scheme show. In the right side here, start always in the same time. Having placed the increased stitches all over the body and as instructed ensures that the stars will not always fall directly under each other, and that is correct. Pattern border 2, the red and white pattern border on top of the body, always begins and ends with a whole rhomb. Then the tree of life and the rhomb will alternate to the middle and then reverse. Because all signs must be whole, there will be some more vertical stripes in the middle of the front to facilitate this. In the back, there are a lot more stitches and 2 rhombs are knitted into each other in the middle. Pattern border 3, the shoulders are knitted reversed on each side of the front neck. Then the shoulder flaps are knitted to the back. Pattern border 4, the zigzag cuff, are knitted a bit tight, and then comes the rose pattern, number 5, before the stripes begin in the sleeves. The lower part of the body has a mixture of knitted and purled rows. Then a section stocking stitch. This part is knitted in white yarn. The striped pattern begins at the waist. It is knitted in rounds on a circular needle from capstone to armpit. From this point, it is knitted forwards and backwards to the top, including the red and white border. The shoulder flaps are knitted on each side on the front and then knitted to each side of the back. The back neckline has about 15 more stitches than the front neckline. The neckline consists of some rows of garter stitch in each side, then 1 row purl before casting off. In the 1860s, men usually tucked their sweaters inside the trousers, therefore the sweaters fitted closely at the hips and got wider and wider towards the shoulders. The armpits were also small so that they would fit inside the jacket sleeve. At holiday times, the men often wore a waistcoat over the sweater instead of a jacket. The sweaters were knitted to fit a specific individual, and the way the increases and decreases were done all over the body and sleeves meant that the finished garment was almost molded to that person's shape. Parallel with the pattern work, we knitted the replica with this new Byneset yarn from Selbu Spinneri. We were very satisfied with the yarn. The knitting tension of the old sweater told us to knit with needles 2 millimeter. It did not take long time before we got used to knit the big sweater with so tiny needles. We were so lucky we had the opportunity to knit this replica, which gave us the copy we needed to save this sweater pattern for the future. We have learned how these sweaters were knitted in the old time, that the increases were placed all over the body and sleeves to make a fine shape to who should wear it. We have learned a lot of the pattern borders. For example, that they never were cut if having a protection effect. We have learned that tightly twined yarn makes a long living sweater. And we have learned that a local traditional sweater says something about where you live. And of course, we learned about living in that time was a hard time for people in poverty. We have made a knitting pattern as a copy from the old sweater. And we also made a pattern to adapt to your own size and to your own knitting tension. We will thank the Norwegian Folk and Crafts Association for the challenge they gave us. Thank you. Then I'm finished.
Thank you very much, Guri. I think it's just incredible, the reconstruction work you have been doing. So tight, so small, so difficult to see every detail. I'm just amazed and looking forward to try it myself. We'll see if my skills are good enough for making it. Very nice, thank you. And now we have the chance to hear more about how this yarn became a reality. It was, as mentioned, a question from Byneset craft group. They had this need. They saw that there were no yarn in the market that could suit this specific reconstruction and sweater. And Selbu Spinneri, you are a small wool manufacturing business at a short distance outside the town of Trondheim, which is in the middle of Norway. And by processing wool from old Norwegian sheep breeds, you aim to contribute to the conservation of all this variation within the wool and the yarn qualities. And tonight we have with us Ingvild Espelien at right. And Ingvild, she was the founder of the Selbu Spinneri, and you have a big heart for traditional husbandry, and you have very, very extensive skills for creative practical crafts. And your combination of this passion for craft and practical skills made you to start this mini mill or spinning mill in 2010. And with you have Marte Blomli. And Marte, she works as the project leader in the spinning mill, and you have a Master of Science in Natural Resources Management. So we can hear that you are in the best place. And Marte, she's very passionate about sustainability in the textile industry. So we are looking very much forward to listen to you. So welcome.
Thank you. I will just share my screen. Let me see. There?
Yes.
Okay. So,
thank you for inviting us. We will tell a little bit about the spinning mill, and then we will tell about the process on how we made the yarn. Okay. Okay. So Selbu Spinneri is a small spinning mill. It's partly family owned and partly family driven, as Marte is one of my 3 daughters, and all of my daughters work in the spinning mill. But we also employ some other persons. So we are a total of 6 persons, I think. Yes. We have a great passion for Norwegian wool and for the local resources. And we are very passionate about the local sheep breeds. There are several Norwegian sheep breeds, and quite a lot of them are endangered. We started the business to increase the demand and the price for the pigmented wool of the old Norwegian sheep breeds, like the grå Trønderskjev, which you can see in the middle here. It's very nice wool with a high crimp. But unfortunately, because of the pigment, the gray color, this wool is not very popular among industrial spinning mills. So this is why we wanted to start a spinning mill ourselves. Let's see. Our main activity is to process the wool from farmers, and the farmers can sell the yarn from their own sheep at the farm. The wool are for most of these farmers only one product of several. They sell meat, and they also use the sheep for the cultural landscape forming. So this is probably most important for many of them. We also offer courses in sorting the wool, because that's very important to make a nice yarn, to be able to sort the wool, to use the right quality of wool for each yarn. And also we offer courses in other parts of the wool processing, like the spinning, hand spinning, and hand dyeing and weaving. So in our spinning mill, we use machines, of course. We have a lot of different machines to produce the yarn. We do everything with the wool. We sort the wool, we wash it in our own small wool washing facility. We then open the wool, and we cleanse it and spin it. Oh, sorry. So here in the corner you can see one of our spinners. As we can make quite small batches, we are ideal for reconstruction work, and Marte will tell a little bit more about that.
Yes. Okay, so when Byneset Crafts Association came to us to ask us for advice on how to develop a yarn that is similar to the one used in the original sweater, we started by studying the yarn in the sweater that they brought to us. It is quite hard to see in the original sweater, because it's so tightly knitted and it's so small stitches that seeing like the character of the yarn is actually quite hard. But after studying it quite closely, and also with a small microscope, we saw that it is probably a three-ply yarn that is quite have high twist both in the spinning and in the plying. So it's a very tightly spun yarn, and it is also made with special quality of fibers, because you wouldn't want the softest wool for this yarn. You would want a bit coarser wool with longer and thicker fibers for the yarn to become durable enough for a sweater like this one. So we started out by sourcing the wool. Of course, we have a lot of wool in our storage, but so we went to our storage to find the wool quality that that is most suitable for this yarn, and we source our wool locally, as you can see in our map. It's from the middle part of Norway. We buy our wool both from the farmers, but also from the local wool station. So and that collects wool from all around the area. But our wool used in this yarn is from the area quite close to Trondheim, actually. Yes. So actually, some of the wool is from our neighboring farms in the same village and in the neighboring villages, and they come or the wool in the white yarn come from white sheep, of course, like the one in the last picture. Those are the industrial modern sheep breed called Norwegian white sheep, and the ones in this picture, those are older sheep breed called Dala, the sheep from the valleys. And the Dala, it is both in the white variety and also in a brown or gray variety. So there for the white yarn, we of course picked out the white wool, but in addition to the yarn made for the craft association, we also have spun two other colors, sheep black, sheep gray, and sheep white. So we have 3 shades of natural colors of this yarn. These sheep breeds, they have wool that can be very soft and very nice and fine fibers, but they can also have a coarser wool with longer fibers. So they we picked out the coarser wool for this project. Yeah. Well, as you can see in the lower part of this picture, the wool sorting is a very manual process. We look at each part of the fleece and sort the fibers or the wool into different qualities. After sorting, the wool is put into a washing machine and washed at high temperature to remove as much of the both grease and dirt as possible. After washing, it is air dried, and then when it's dry, we put it into a small machine that opens the fibers and blends the wool from the different batches of wool that we blend. And also after that, we put it through a cleaning machine that cleanses, removes long fibers and dirt. And then it is put into the carder. And then after the carder, you will have these tops of wool that we use for spinning. But before they are spun, we put them through a comb so that our yarn is a semi-worsted yarn. And that is probably more correct for the original yarn was also, well, it was hand carded and hand spun, of course, but this process often make the yarn more like a semi-worsted yarn, probably. Yeah, and this also increases the durability of the yarn because it will be stronger when the fibers are more parallel in the yarn. yeah, compared to a worsted yarn, which is a bit less strong. Am I right now? Yeah. Okay, so the special qualities of the yarn is the high twist, or the strong twist, and the high twist on plying. So you can also see a picture from our plying machine over there, a 3-ply yarn. Okay, so now Ingvild will come and talk about dyeing the yarn.
Okay, about the dyeing. We don't dye usually. So this is just something that we do a few times when we keep hand dyeing courses, and we do it for fun. So when Byneset Husflidslag asked us to dye, we were a little bit scared because this was quite new to us to dye yarn into a specific color. So I needed to test it quite a lot. I used my free time during Easter to do the tests, and I tried to copy the colors that we saw in the original sweater. I think we could copy the colors quite well. It's a little bit difficult to tell how the colors really were originally, because the red color had bled a little bit into the white in the original sweater, and also the red color had been a little bit bleached during the years. 160 years is a very, very long time. So, but the dyeing was, as you can see, it's really handwork. I use a big kettle and a lot of water, and I need to attend the dyeing process all the time, to be there and watch it. Okay.
Okay, yes, so this all resulted in the final yarn, which is a very nice, strong, durable yarn. You need a very strong and durable yarn to knit a sweater that can last for 160 years. And now I think we want to thank the Byneset Crafts Association, and also the National Crafts Association for giving us this opportunity to develop such a very nice yarn that may make people able to knit a sweater that can last for another 160 years. Thank you very much.
And I like to send that thanks back to you again. Thanks that you took the challenge of this reconstructing work. And for your information, Selbu Spinneri and Norwegian Folk Art and Crafts Association, we collaborated also some years ago in an international project about the sustainability in local value chain in yarn production. So you see, this is the idea, and the way of thinking is really something which is on the how can I say, the soul, or the values you have in your spinning mill. You are really thinking about this sustainability and the duration of the products. So thank you very much, Marte and Ingvild. And now, Tone, do we have any questions tonight, or are people just happy to, let it?
Well, there's no questions in the chat yet, but I'm hoping someone will have some questions, maybe for Guri, about the reconstruction, or maybe the symbolism, or how they worked with this sweater, or with to Selbu about how they made the yarn. Just ask. I also wanted to say that if you want to knit this sweater, they've done an amazing work of making the math or the gauge of how you can make it to fit your own body. So all you need is a measuring tape. You measure yourself and then you calculate and you can get a sweater that fits you perfectly. If you go to the Facebook page of Nordic Craft Week, you will find the link to this pattern that it's free to download. And I hope many of you want to knit it. And also that Selbu, they've made some yarn packs. So, and I have some yarn here. It's beautiful, robust yarn in these 3 colors. And if you want, you can swap out the blue and make a natural black yarn. It's really nice. So yeah, check it out. And let's see if anyone has any questions, just ask us anything. No questions, just 2 comments saying thank you so much for an interesting talk. Thank you. I see there's someone here with us from Latvia. The Mary's asking if we can get the link for the yarn kits. So maybe you, Marta, you can share the link in the chat. And then we have another sweater here. This is for Guri. What size was the original sweater?
That is difficult to say. It was knitted to adult person, and we thought it was knitted to a man who was a little bit, what do you call it?
Not so wide in his shoulders. He was.
Oh, you had a hunchback.
Bending forward.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we have never seen a picture of the person who owned this shirt. But when I had to find someone to try the new replica, I found a boy past 20 years, not so big, and I thought the sweater was too big to him, but it fitted. It fitted. So a small to medium, I think, men's size. I am not sure, but I think so. Yeah.
If you go into the pattern as well, you can see the measurements because there's no sizes. It's more about the measurements.
Yeah.
Wow, there's a lot of questions coming in. It's great. Someone is asking, the sweater was knitted in the round up to the armpit. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how was the rest done?
Knitting forwards and backwards from the armpit and to the top.
Yeah, so it was knitted in the round for the sleeves and knitted in the round up to the armpits, and then it was knitted back and forth.
Yes. But I noted in the pattern that you may be knitting on circular needles to the top, but then you have to cut in the side for placing the sleeves. Yes. But in the elder days, they knitted forwards and backwards from the armpit.
Yeah, I guess they would have used less yarn if they did it that way than if they had to cut, maybe.
Yes.
We have another comment coming here. Hello from California. Thank you so much for an interesting presentation. Such a gift to be told how the reconstruction of the sweater was done and the process of wool making through Selbu Spinneri. That's nice. And then a question here, were the sleeves wider at the elbow or is the slight bulge due to stretching? So was it the arm knitted in this weird shape or was it just used so much?
No, it was knitted as the shape of the person. He had muscles.
Ingrid has put the link in the chat now for how you can get the yarn packs for Norwegian orders. There's one link, and for international orders, there's another. So if you want to, you can take a look at that. And then another comment in Norwegian saying, veldig bra jobba, imponert over alt arbeidet dere har lagt ned på så kort tid. Jeg er helt enig med det. And then someone saying, thank you, a good guide that others can follow. I like the safety pins. Let's go to the old storage and find some more garments. Are you going to do this again, Guri?
Perhaps.
I like that attitude. That's good.
Yeah. And then Nancy commenting, it's so very fascinating to meet you online and to hear directly from you in this fabulous reconstruction and about Selbu Spinneri. Thank you.
Nice.
Yes. And is there anyone that has any more questions you can just ask? Yes, there's someone with a question here. How did you seam the pieces together? So how did you sew the pieces together?
The sleeves to the body. Yeah, with the back stitch from the right side, from the right side, 2 stitches from the edge.
Okay. And what about the shoulder?
The shoulder flaps are knitted to the back.
Yeah.
And in the pattern, I have told how this was done.
Okay. So if you have any questions about the construction, then it's all in the pattern.
Yeah.
We have some more comments here saying, thank you so much for doing this in English. Fascinating talk. Thank you from Canada. Nice. And then Gry saying tusen takk.
Okay. Yes, and I think it's really time for me also to say once more, tusen takk. Thank you very much. And before we close down this webinar, I just want to remind you that it is an opportunity to get inspired and have more knowledge about yarn and sustainability tomorrow, because that is a Danish contribution to this Nordic Craft Week, and that is a recorded lecture, so you can look it or watch it whenever you want during the day tomorrow. So there are new possibilities, so please go in and enjoy it if you like to. And we will make the Nordic Craft Week also a year from now, so you can just keep following us on the Facebook, and during winter time there will pop up some information about the theme of the next year and exactly the dates, and during springtime we will have information about our program a year ahead from now. So thank you very much everyone for following us. And Tone, do I have missed something? Please remind me.
No, just someone, some thank yous coming in the comments, and I think that's it. Thank you so much to Selbu and to Guri and Byneset Husflidslag. You've done an amazing job, and
Yes, that's it. So bye-bye everyone, and thank you again for following us. And oh yes, Camilla. Camilla is the craft advisor in Trondheim area. Hello, Camilla, and you are started.
I'm knitting.
Excellent. Thank you for showing. Yeah, and that's the first part on the sleeve, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the sleeve.
Yeah. Is it are you making just a test now, or is it yes, it is a test.
Yeah, this is a test.
Yeah, so about half size, I think, something, or maybe a bit less. I don't know exactly. Is it fun?
Yes, very fun. It's a very nice pattern. I like it.
That's good. So then We have a real proof. This is fun.
Thank you, everybody, for this. It was very nice.
And thank you for showing and sharing, Camilla.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone, and have a nice evening.
Bye bye.